Kyoto, Japan's former capital, has over 1,200 years of history. In the heart of the city, beside the Kamo River, stands this historic structure. Built in 1925, it's officially recognized by the government as a tangible cultural property. But step inside, and you'll find a modern, Western-style lobby. It's actually an elegant French restaurant. The chance to dine in surroundings fusing East and West is immensely popular with tourists. The menu incorporates the best of local heirloom produce.
It's a really ingenious fusion of modern and traditional. It's very cool indeed.
There's something soothing about eating somewhere with such a history.
In the summer, outdoor seating above the river lets customers savor the breeze and the Kyoto scenery as they dine. The site has hosted a restaurant since the mid-1800s. In its 20th century heyday, it was a bustling social hub for Kyoto's movers and shakers. But after Japan's economic bubble burst in the 1990s, business began to wane. In 2007, the restaurant closed and the threat of demolition loomed. That's where Jun Tarikino stepped in to rent and renovate this historic eatery. This entrepreneur is becoming known for businesses based on the charms of historic properties.
It costs a lot of money to preserve these buildings, to renovate them. Even if you have the initial investment sum, from donations, for example, without sustainable financial support, it won't work out. What you need is a business that fills a niche, that's economically viable. I think that's essential in order to preserve these structures.
It's a historical building, even by Kyoto standards. So we want to see it preserved. Tarikino may be young, but he appreciates the importance of such structures. We're so glad to have him in charge.
This is actually one of 7 heritage properties restored by Tarikino's business. We follow an entrepreneur breathing new life into Japan's historical buildings. Kobe in Hyogo Prefecture is a thriving modern metropolis. On the outskirts of the city stands this stately home. Built in 1919, this marriage of Western and Japanese architectural flourishes is designated among Hyogo's important cultural properties. Inside, a wedding reception is underway. Developer Jun Tarikino transformed the property into a wedding venue, and the historic setting has made it one of Kobe's most popular places to tie the knot. As at many Japanese weddings, the bride and groom switch between Western and Japanese dress. Why did they choose to hold their reception here?
It's a fantastic building. And we also wanted to incorporate a Japanese element. So this place was ideal.
It's such an elegant space and so unique. We thought it would make a lovely wedding venue.
In 1995, Kobe was struck by the Great Hanshin earthquake. Across the city, numerous buildings were severely damaged.
I felt so helpless. It was like the world had been turned upside down. Entire buildings, entire streets, all disappeared, just like that. I realized how important the surviving structures were to local people. I really felt we had to protect them through a major concerted effort.
It was 10 years later, through his work as a consultant, that Tarikino first became aware of the Nishio estate.
The building blew me away. Unlike most Western-style structures, the frame is wood, not concrete. It seemed miraculous that it survived such a strong earthquake. I felt compelled to ensure its continuing survival.
But the Nishio property had serious issues. Though it survived the quake, it was badly damaged. With the family owners unable to raise the billion yen needed for restoration, the site fell into disuse and disrepair.
Faced with things like property tax, demolition seemed the only option, turning the whole site into condos. But my family has been here for 3 generations, so it didn't seem right. Then Tarikino came along. I'm so grateful.
In truth, it was a terrifying responsibility to take on something so priceless. Of course, the building, but also all the history and the memories wrapped up in it.
But during renovation, disaster struck. Tarikino's partner firm went bankrupt, and he found himself struggling to raise the capital to continue.
Repairing historic buildings costs a fortune. As a business, you have to recoup that, but many observers thought we wouldn't be able to monetize this project. Many people said that we were attempting the impossible. That made the experience extremely tough psychologically.
But Tadikino was determined to preserve the Nishio property. Little by little, he managed to raise the necessary funds. Finally, at long last, the building reopened as a wedding venue. 14 years after its founding, Tadikino's firm is based in this high-rise in central Osaka. With 260 full-time employees and an overall roster of 500 workers, annual turnover surpasses 5.5 billion yen. The success of the wedding venue in Kobe has enabled Tadikino to complete 6 further business transformations of historic buildings. Streets lined with period homes make Kyoto's Higashiyama district extremely popular with tourists. It's also the site of another Tadikino renovation project, this restaurant. He took on the grand structure which was built in 1925 for the owner of a local copper processing plant to entertain his guests. But tight regulations governing renovation work mean Tadikino often has to exercise considerable ingenuity.
Here we are. This actually used to be a 3-story building. But modern construction laws restrict wooden structures to just 2 floors. This is the 2nd floor, so we decided to take out the ceiling and open up the 3rd floor as an atrium for a wide open feel. That leaves 2 floors, downstairs and here. We did away with 1 floor to use this as a 2-story structure.
Another building on the premises also required special attention. The former residence of the owner, it now serves as a waiting lounge when parties are held at the restaurant.
All these fixtures are in the original state. Round windows like this are common in Kyoto. We wanted to preserve those. But while traditional Japanese buildings may be nice and cool in summer, they can get very cold in winter. That's why we installed fixed glass in the round window and in this window over here. At a glance, you wouldn't know that we'd changed the original fittings, but it's all intended to make the place more comfortable. For people to enjoy these old buildings more fully, we update them to incorporate modern comforts while maintaining the original design.
Tadikino has found success by adding a modern touch to historic buildings. But what is his secret?
The value intrinsic in an old building. The truth is, people don't come for that alone. So you have to add value by providing a service, like renting it out for VIP parties, or doing something extra to create a demand for it as a business. Just being old, just being a cultural property, that's not enough.
In order to add value to his buildings, Tadikino takes special care over training. Today, his employees are gathered at this Osaka convention space. Every month, all 260 full-time staff come together for a day-long event to share information. Each individual spends 20% of their time learning in a variety of training programs. This meeting is aimed at assistant managers. Miki Sodeoka, in her 5th year with the firm, was recently promoted.
Until now, I've been part of a team, being managed. But now that I've become a manager myself, I can see things from the other side for the first time. I feel like now I'm finally in a position to pass on the things that I've received.
Sodeoka works at the restaurant by Kyoto's Kamo River. One of her new responsibilities as assistant manager is to give instruction to staff. Here, she role-plays a wedding reception with first-year employee Mei Natsumi. Sodeoka adopts the bride's position, while Natsumi runs through the couple's entrance for the first time. It's all in practice for her real debut in 5 days.
惜しかったのは先導もう少し距離空けてもいい、はい、それによってゲストの方々からのお写真がもっと撮れるはず、ここでそれぐらいにいてくれてベストやったと思う。ですごくベストやって、でそこからがここぐらいまで縮まったけど、もう少し離れてても目線だけ合えてれば大丈夫やと思う。
It's little things like word choice and tone. And it's quite okay to lead the entrance a little more briskly. On the day of the wedding, I want to see the looks on their faces and give the best guidance I can so they can enjoy the day.
The big day arrives. The venue fills with guests, and the reception begins. Guided by Natsumi, the bride and groom make their entrance. Keeping an appropriate distance, she maintains eye contact as she leads the newlyweds along. Natsumi gets the balance just right, and it all goes off without a hitch. Sodeoka looks on proudly. As the reception continues, staff work together to provide the best possible celebration. There's a reason behind Tarikino's use of historic spaces to host weddings and other special occasions.
A special occasion calls for a special venue. A cultural property makes for an unforgettable location, and I hope more people will realize that. The more that happens, the more we can ensure the preservation of these sites.
The castle town of Sasayama sits among the mountains of Hyogo Prefecture. It's the site of a new Tarikino venture. For centuries, the town was a key staging post on the road to Kyoto, and even today, Edo period buildings remain. Tarikino's firm has made this 100-year-old former merchant's residence part of a novel hotel concept. A couple arrive for their stay. They head inside to check in. Then, paperwork complete, the receptionist leads them back outside. The guest rooms are actually spread across several properties nearby. The couple arrive at their lodging for the night, in a home with 150 years of history. The low ceilings are typical of traditional Japanese homes. An overnight stay here gives guests a glimpse of an older way of life.
It's like a time trip away from everyday life. Like a holiday in the past.
It's such a good blend of the old and the new. I'm really excited because I've heard staying here is a great experience.
We get all kinds of properties offered to us, but we always used to decline to take on smaller buildings like these. On their own, they're just not financially viable. But combining 10 buildings or 20 increases the area you can use and gives a much greater earning potential. This way, we can preserve properties that once had no future.
And the scheme has helped to rejuvenate the whole town.
Vacant homes have been filled, new businesses have opened, and with tourists coming in, things are really on the up.
The tourists who visit bring business here as well. It's been great. Narita Airport is the world's gateway to Japan. It's late August and Tarikino arrives on a domestic flight. One nearby area is seeking to capitalize on tourism by developing a town-wide hotel scheme similar to the one in Sasayama. "30 minutes from the airport by taxi, Tarikino arrives in the Sawara district of Katori, Chiba Prefecture. This was once a thriving river port, carrying goods from northern Japan to old Tokyo. The Ono River is still lined with Edo period architecture. But many local properties were damaged by the Great East Japan earthquake of 2011. 6 years on, with repairs finally complete, Katori's authorities joined with the local Chamber of Commerce in a bid to rejuvenate the area through a town-wide hotel project. Impressed by his success in Sasayama, they got in touch with Tarikino.
Initially, the plan was to launch a local business run by local people. But looking at things objectively, that began to seem rather difficult. We knew about Tarikino's success with his business in Sasayama, so we asked him to come and put his know-how to work here as well.
Turning homes across the town into a profitable hotel will not be easy. But Tarikino has a special interest in this project.
Sawara suffered real damage during the earthquake, and that united local people in their desire to protect the town. It really reminded me of the fear I felt of losing my own town after the earthquake in Kobe. The same sense of danger. So I hope we can join the local people in their efforts to preserve this old town. That's what we want to achieve.
With the opening scheduled for spring 2018, Tarikino visits the 4 properties currently being renovated. Local team member Kazuo Kobayashi senses Tarikino's affection for these buildings.
驚くほど造形が深いね。それはね、本当にびっくりする。基本的に好きなんだね、きっとね。好きじゃないとできないですね。できないよね、本当に。
Among the properties being done up, this 100-year-old former mattress store is closest to completion. Tarikino is taking particular care with the outhouse at the rear. Guests will be able to stay on the 2nd floor.
You just don't get the chance to enter an old storehouse like this. So it's an exciting break from the norm to come in here and stay the night.
This hatch in the floor is a key feature.
We're keeping this as is. It was used to move stock to the ground floor, lower it down to the floor below. Of course, we'll make sure it's safe, but the aim is to preserve as many elements as we can, so guests can understand how these properties were used in the past.
And building understanding is one reason Jun Tarikino hopes to create hotel schemes from renovated old buildings across Japan.
By working to preserve tangible items like buildings, you also preserve aspects of lifestyle and culture that are wrapped up in those. What I call intangible culture. Lifestyles, festivals, things that have been handed down through history, over generations, as well as these buildings and towns. That's what I want to preserve.